everyone, welcome back to the Sacred Space. My name is Galo and I'm also known as the Scribe Priestess. And on this channel, I make videos about spiritual practices, spiritual development, and our spiritual journey here on Earth. And today we are going to keep our journey through the Zodiac signs, and we're going to talk about the airy, very fun energy of Gemini. So before we get started with today's video, I wanted to tell you that there is always an extended version of my YouTube videos that you can find on my webpage. There is an extended video library where I go a little bit deeper or I touch other subjects that have to do with the theme that I was talking here on YouTube. And this theme is going to be about what it means to have a Gemini moon. As I was saying on the previous videos about the zodiac signs, the energy of where we have our moon placement is sort of like a key to our healing journey here on Earth. So if you're curious about what it means to have a Gemini moon, then you can go to my webpage and check out the extended library section. It is on the member side. I will leave down the link below if you want to go and check it out. So without further ado, let's get started with today's video. So you guys, if you see me sweating a little bit, it's because I'm in summertime where I live and it's quite humid. It's not that hot, but it's very, very humid. So bear with me. The lights make me shine. Okay, you guys, so let's start with the energy of Gemini. We have been gone through the energy of Aries and the energy of Taurus. Both energies are very self-oriented. And Gemini's energy is also going to be self-oriented, but it's starting to discover that there is something else around me as myself. So the energy of this archetype is one that is going to be fueled by curiosity. It's going to be fueled by the air element. So Gemini is ruled by the element of air. The air element has everything to do with our ideas, with processes, with information, everything that has to do with how information travels. For example, you can think about air energy as music, because in music there are frequencies which travel with a message inside of them. Anything that has to do with technology, information, or ideas, what it means to have this process inside of our minds about becoming an idea, developing it, making connections with it, everything that has to do with this idea world. And this energy is a very fast-paced energy. So whenever you stumble upon the energy of air, it's going to be an energy that is traveling, that is going faster than the other elements we are going to be talking about. The second one that it kind of goes also fast, not as fast as air, but also fast, is going to be the element of fire that we saw on Aries. And the very slow energy is going to be the one of earth. Water is also energy that tends to go slower, but not as slow as earth. So we are in a very dynamic energy. This is what I love about this energy, because Gemini is a sign which is very dynamic. It likes to keep moving. It likes to keep developing itself. I like to see this archetype as the archetype of the gatherer of information. So it's this energy of wanting to know everything there is to know in the world about everything, but not getting into very detailed processes. So for example, this energy is the energy when you are starting to read a book and you are filled with curiosity, you are full motivated, and the more you get inside of all the themes of the book and the deeper you go inside of it, we are going to then go to another process, which for example is the mercurial placement that you can see, for example, in Virgo, or the fire element that you can see in Sagittarius, which is the opposite of Gemini. So Gemini is not that they don't want to go deeper in the subject or they don't want to study enough. It doesn't have to do with that, because as we have been spoken here, we're talking about the archetype here. We're not talking about the personality traits of a person that has a Gemini placement on their birth charts, but on the energy that is manifested with the energy of Gemini. So it is an energy that likes to keep things light weighted. It doesn't like to get that much into deep meanings and deep, like very deep and heavy things where you need a lot of mental energy to understand one point. It prefers to go very freely, very spontaneous through various subjects, and to keep things light, fun, and there is a lot of humor involved. To me, one of the energies that portrays the humor you can go and see in stand-up comedies, for example, is the energy of Gemini. So when you go and see a comedian do a stand-up, you have to keep a certain pace to the jokes that are being told. And it goes with this ability to connect certain ideas and certain themes with also sometimes when you have the ability to understand double standards, for example, or you have the ability to understand hidden meanings, or that which is said under in an implicit way. That is the energy of Gemini. So the fact that you're able to enjoy, for example, sarcasm, or that you enjoy this fun way of looking at life without being too serious, or making fun of things that tend to be a little bit disruptive or a little bit like uncomfortable. Comedy is that. Comedy is the ability of laughing about yourself, or also getting inside of these very touchy, sensitive themes that normally you would get very heightened reactions, or very sometimes also aggressive reactions, because those are themes that tend to activate our sense of identity. For example, religion or politics, or even taboos. But in a comedy sense, if you are able to connect to those things and make fun, and not only making fun of the things, but also telling the truth, like that's what I love about comedy. That's why I believe comedy is one of the precious things we have here on earth. When you see a person who is really able to communicate a hard truth, for example, or a taboo theme in a funny way that makes you laugh, but at the same time makes you think about it. You're like, ha 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 ha. But I feel triggered, or that made me think. That's the energy of Gemini, because Gemini has the power, it's the archetypal power of association, of being able to do interconnectedness. Not only to connect one thing with another, but also do this interconnectedness in order for broader this view of what is really happening, or of what you really want to say. Another way to understand the energy of Gemini is if we go to the caveman. So when we were mostly talking in hand gestures, or we were like, when we wanted to drink something, so we did this, and we were still developing language. So the development of language comes with Gemini, with the energy of Gemini. I learned this explanation as I was studying astrology, and I just love it, because you can picture these cave people that are making a little bit of fire. Maybe they are really already understood what fire means, but they're still communicating themselves with sounds and with hand gestures. And suddenly one of them goes and wanders a little bit further of their comfort zone. So it's not that far away. It's not like they are going into a big adventure, but it's just adventuring a little bit out of the normality that you have in your day-to-day life. And suddenly they see like a bunch of different stones and rocks that they had not seen before. and they start playing with them, touching them. As we are coming from Taurus, we were engaging with our physical body a lot. So the way we experience is through our physical body. So you're touching the stones and everything, and suddenly one of them has a cutting side to it, and it suddenly cuts the hand of the caveman. So the caveman sees that it cut itself and that blood is coming out of it. So it takes the stone and thinks, reflects, associate that if the stone was able to cut his skin, that means that this stone, this side that is sharp, maybe can cut other things. And he comes back to his group and he brings the stone with him. And with the hand gestures and everything that he is able to communicate with others, he shows people that this stone has a side which is sharp. And then he continues to cut himself again to show people that this sharp side actually cuts. And then he takes either a symbol or he makes sounds and gestures to remember the people about the hunting, the animals. And he takes the stone and says, in his way, that this stone could actually also help them in the hunting process to hunt for animals, and because it's going to cut them too. So all of this process that I just said here is the process of Gemini. Gemini is curious to understand a little bit more about its surroundings, because as we are coming from a very nurturing and safe space, which is Taurus, that Taurus has everything to do with being safe, feeling secure, the ability to build a place, a safe place for you to develop yourself. The more you feel that you are safe and secure, the more you're going to be developing this sense of curiosity, of understanding, okay, if I always have a safe place to come back, the energy can go out and explore a little bit more. As I said, we still are in a very self-centered energy. Gemini is still a self-centered energy, and it's more about the one-on-one communication. So it's not that you're communicating with a lot of people, or the sense of information that travels in a community itself, but it's very focused and oriented on one-on-one communication, how I communicate. Walking further in this archetypal energy, we are going to see that Gemini is a mutable energy. So the mutable energies are known to be very flexible. They are energies that tend to change their minds a lot. So it can go one way or another. It is not an energy that is fixed, grounded, as Taurus, for example. And it also is not a cardinal energy, which goes in a specific way and point and sticks to that. The mutable energies are energies that want to discover and explore. It's an energy that thrives on change, that really is going to be wanting to change, that is not going to feel uncomfortable when change comes. It actually thrives and says like, hey, cool, that now we're going to live this change in order for me to understand a little bit more and maybe find some new innovative ways to do things. For anyone and for anything, the energy of change is challenging, because in the energy of change, you are living transformation and transmutation sometimes too. So anything that is going to change is going to create a little bit of uncomfortable feelings at the beginning or during the process, because you are coming from one thing and transforming yourself into another. And the process itself, a lot of the times, or very often, tends to be uncomfortable. The mutable archetypes of the Zodiac, they tend to take the challenge of change not that bad. So they thrive on it. And the last thing that I want to say about Gemini is that Gemini is the archetypal energy that expresses duality. So this is the first time that we are going to come across the idea that we live in a dual world, that actually there are dual energies in the world. And as I said, we were coming from this safe space from Taurus, and we are going a little bit outside of our comfort zone to discover that there are other things surrounding us. And with a curious mind, we go and engage with life more. And this is the moment where duality comes and makes herself notice. If you don't know what duality means, or you have not been across this subject before, I can recommend you to read a book that is called The Kybalion. I have here this one. Over there you can find what duality means. And I'm going to just say it very compact. Duality means that we live in a world and in a reality which is dual. It means that in energies we have polarities. We have certain extremes of a same thing. That is a very important thing to understand, because when we talk about good or bad things, it's a little bit I mean, there is good and bad. There is things that are light and darkness, but the concept that everything comes from a one source and then it polarizes itself, it's important to understand. That is what the archetypal energy of Gemini is telling us, that there is good and bad in this world, that there is light and darkness where we live. That's why when you see the symbol of Gemini, you see the twins, because the twins represent this duality. We all have also a dual side to us. We all have our light and our shadow selves. And for example, you can go and check Carl Jung's work on shadow work, and it's amazing. It's amazing. But this shadow world is there inside of us. And when we try just to live in one polarity, so in this light world, you are going to develop symptoms. You're going to develop a lot of problems, because this shadow side is also there. So instead of integrating it and accepting this, when you deny it and you don't want to take charge of this shadow self, it is going to come out in a certain way, because it is part of all of us. We have that in all of us, and it's not something that you can judge as bad or as good. That is duality. That is the law of polarity, because it is like that. We all have these two sides of us. So Gemini is the archetype that comes with this universal truth that everything has two sides, so to speak. It is dual. And I believe this is a very important subject to be talking about, because in the new era, in New Age, there is a current that is saying that everything is love and everything is just like full of beautiful things, and that we are just all one and we should be one person. I don't know. But it's very focused on the fact that we all come from one source. And although that is true, the focus, or the way this new age movement, some of them focus this truth, takes away the dual part of life. And the thing is that in this reality on earth, we are here to experience also individuality. Because if we were not here to express and live individuality, we would not have come here as a human being. We might have come here, I don't know, like a collective of souls that have all one body, and I don't know how. But part of our journey here is also to experience individuality. So you cannot deny duality. Duality exists. Like good and bad, like light and darkness. So yes, and now we go to the ruler of the energy of Gemini, which is Mercury. Mercury is represented by Hermes, the messenger of the gods. And Mercury, you can see it in a lot of different mythology currents. You can see it through history, that it was represented with this connection to the heavens. So it's the connection of how information goes and travels, let's say, from this physical world that we live in to the heavens, to the further parts of the universe. And you can see Hermes has wings, for example, that also portrays the fact of the element of air, the ability to fly. It's the information that is moving, that is flying, that is going. And one of the things that I also find very interesting is that Mercury is known to be a trickster too, and someone that is very good with words. And here you can see this ability to associate and interconnect information. And for in the way of trickstery, you can see that it's very also self-oriented, as what we were talking about, the archetypal energy of Gemini. I love a story that is a mythological story, and how Mercury travels from the heavens to hell, just going with information from one another, one side to the other, and how the gods communicate and everything. And that it's Mercury who is playing with the information that the gods are giving him, in order for him not only to receive more information, but to be able to go to the heavens and to hell, and retrieve information, give information, but not at his detriment. So I find that very interesting, and that portrays exactly what the energy of Gemini is. Gemini's energy is this art of being able to communicate in a way that is innovative, that is taking in consideration a lot of different ways of thinking and avenues of information. Mercury is the way we communicate. So wherever you have Mercury in your birth chart, is going to talk about how you communicate yourself and what information and communication is to you. So the Mercury is a very fast-going planet. It really takes him not that long to do the trip around our solar system. It is a very, very quick moving energy, and as that portrays everything that we have been talking so far. So Mercury rules everything that has to do with our throat chakra. So for example, the ability that we have to express ourselves, language, words, writing processes, everything that has to do with singing, for example, the ability that we have to create melody, to create music, the healing parts of music too. So Mercury is that planet that is also creating this interconnectedness of energies. I'm not going to go that into deep with the Mercury archetype, because Mercury is actually a very interesting archetype to be talking about. And I would love to do a mythology series where I go through the gods and goddesses of different mythologies. And let's see if I can do that. Let's see if I achieve this. That was for today for the energy of Gemini. As you can see, it is ruled by everything that has to do with communication, with being innovative, being funny, also lightness. It's a very joyful energy. That's also one thing that I have to mention here. The energy of Gemini is an energy that is going to be portrayed, for example, by this curiosity that we have as kids. So it's a very playful energy that likes to get things, chilling, but constantly moving and learning about a lot of different things. So I hope that you were able to learn a little bit more about the energy of Gemini. Of course, there are a lot of other things that I didn't say on this video, and if you have anything to add or to compliment, please leave them down in the comments below. Also, if you have any type of questions, I will be happy to answer them. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for having watched this video. And wherever you are, I am sending you a lot of light and a lot of love. Keep safe, and we will see each other for next video. Bye!